Look on YouTube. Hello and welcome, everyone out there. We up yet?
Mm-hmm.
Not on YouTube yet? Hello and welcome, everyone out there. This is the first ever live Average Joe Sports Show, brought to you today in part, as always, by AverageJoeSports.com, a blog for your everyday sports fan. I am your host, Noah Strackbein, with my always fabulous partner in crime over there, Tom Leach. And we have a great show for you today, huge show that will conclude with a personal friend of ours, University of Hartford pitcher Collin Ferguson will be in through a Skype interview, and we'll pick his brain a little bit on opening week in the MLB, opening week in baseball. But first, we got to jump into it. The NCAA championship.
Mm-hmm.
Villanova, pulled off a win that I called. Just throwing that out there. I called this win. It took me 4 tries on the NCAA tournament and on my bracket, but I tried and I won finally. And if you didn't know, which everyone should know, especially if you're watching the show, Villanova won 77-74, and Chris Jenkins hit a game-winning shot that will go down in history.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
It was insane. It was insane. We're gonna jump right into it. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to pick your brain a little bit. Go for it.
I mean, it was one of the best games I've ever seen, championship or not. Just all around one of the best basketball games I've ever witnessed in my entire life. North Carolina came out, so talented, number 1 seed, looked good through all the games in the tournament. Villanova, who was probably a little bit of surprise to some people. We knew they were good and they played hard, but I don't know how many people really had them going that far.
I had them out second round.
Exactly.
I mean, until the end. We're going to throw that out there. I had them it all.
Right. But then they turned it on, and one thing I really questioned going in was I knew Villanova played tough. They played that Philadelphia tough basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And I know North Carolina was more of a finesse team. So I was wondering if they could keep up with the toughness of Villanova. And, they really proved they could. I mean, and it came down to an incredible Marcus Page shot, which was
that is hands down, in my opinion, the greatest national championship shot of all time.
Yeah.
And it didn't even win.
No. And
that's the worst part about it. I mean, I take that back. That's the best part about it. That's the best part about all this is that Villanova pulled out that win.
Exactly. And here's what I compare what I thought, and I compared it to like almost instantly, was the divisional round game, I believe it was, Green Bay and Arizona, when Aaron Rodgers threw that Hail Mary pass.
Oh yeah.
To go in overtime, and it was amazing, and everyone was going nuts, and they still lost. So it really won't even be remembered. Now this Marcus Page shot, which was truly incredible. I mean, 1 in a million shot. It goes in, and then Chris Jenkins comes down 4 seconds later and completely.
Oh gosh, yeah. Gosh, yeah. And it was phenomenal. Hands down, it was phenomenal. That's the best way to put it. I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. So much because they were so nuts. I want to talk about this. Villanova outscored UNC in the paint. Thoughts?
Wow. Yeah. And just like I said before, that goes into the toughness of Villanova because, UNC has these huge guys. Bryce Johnson, amazing on the paint, really underrated, I think, in the paint, but he really gets it done. Meeks is a really big player. So Villanova came in, they have what that center's name? I forget his.
Dude, the scariest man alive.
Yes.
I'll never remember his
name,
right. But he's the scariest man alive.
He played.
It's Ryan.
Archiachido.
Yeah. See, I'm so glad you could pronounce that because I was just going to call him Ryan the whole time. Ryan Ork, something, and Chris Jenkins. Those are the only 2 people you need to know.
Exactly.
Yeah. But no, they really did. That blew my mind. The fact that Villanova was able to really force the ball down low and beat UNC in their own game.
Right.
That's how they were going to win. No, actually, that's not. Because everyone going into it was going, Villanova is going to win through their hard defense and their 3-point shot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't do that.
No.
They won down low. They won playing scrappy, old school, sound, fundamental basketball.
Exactly.
That's how they won. And it was phenomenal. And I got to talk about this. We have to talk about this real quick. Villanova had to have all the momentum going into that game.
Absolutely.
You put on a show like they did against Oklahoma, 95-51 for those of you who didn't get to watch that game. 95-51. They shot 71% against Buddy Hield, the Naismith Player of the Year, and the entire Oklahoma team, which at some point most people thought were going to win it all. There was no questions about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they had to have 61. I'm looking now, 61% from three in the Final Four. 61%. That's insane. Those are numbers no one puts up at all. Yeah. So they had to have momentum. I mean, North Carolina obviously beat Syracuse, but not a lot of people really had Syracuse that far. So
right, yeah, it was
a shocker.
Little different. I mean, North Carolina had to play some tough competition. They had to play Indiana, and so they didn't have a easy road. No. But Villanova really had to get down, and to beat Oklahoma the way they did was just incredible. I mean, I had Oklahoma winning that game. Yeah. Maybe I was riding the Buddy Hield train a little too hard, but I just had faith in them. I thought they were just kind of like they had a little bit of magic to them, but you got to give it to Villanova.
You do. That's it. They came into this game with not a single NBA player on it, and said, "We're going to win college basketball with college basketball players."
That's true.
What they did.
Yeah.
And I loved every second of it. On the other side, the women's national championship game wasn't even close.
No.
As no one predicted. No one even thought this game was going to be close, and it wasn't. So there you go. But there's way more to talk about than that, because no one even cared about the fact that, UConn and Syracuse were playing in the national championship. No one cared that it was Syracuse's first ever national championship for a women's team. What they cared about was, UConn was going to win its fourth in a row.
Yeah.
Gino was going to pass off John Wooden for most all time. They were going to win 74 straight games. That's what everyone cared about. And they came in and they did it. 82-51. 82-51. Wasn't even close.
But honestly, for a UConn game, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Producer, what was the score of that Mississippi State game? Remember we were watching that at halftime? It was like 64-16.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
It was like, it's ridiculous. I mean, these UConn women are just. They probably could beat the Sixers. They probably could beat the Sixers.
They could probably beat like LeBron.
Yeah.
Just LeBron, no one else.
No.
You can't
but
else on the court, just LeBron did.
That's the thing, though. I mean, going through this tournament, you knew they were going to get there. It was just who they were going to play. And so, like, for a team like Syracuse to get there, it's like, all right, we made it here. Good for us.
It was a moral victory for them.
Exactly.
So, I mean, hey, good for them. Good for them. But, all right, Brianna, obviously, you talk about Gino Auriemma all day long. His 11th national championship, passing John Wooden for the most all time, his fourth straight. But the big question is right now, in my opinion, is he the greatest college basketball coach of all time?
Wow.
Right?
That's all I think about.
It is. I think he is. I think he's the greatest college basketball coach of all time.
I mean, you can't really argue it, because how many countless undefeated seasons that they have?
Thank you.
Undefeated.
Thank you.
I mean, what do they play, what, 30 some games? Yeah. Like, that's just, it's nuts. You don't slip up anywhere. No. And I mean, for women's college basketball, not many people know about it. But when you say a name like Gino, you know who that is. You know him. I mean, he put women's college basketball on the map, essentially, right? I mean, you had coaches like Pat Summitt, who, people know of, and, programs like Tennessee, but UConn's on a whole nother level. I mean, you remember names like Brittany Griner, maybe, but
no, but you'll
Kansas Parker. I mean,
you'll remember Gino Auriemma forever.
Yes.
Forever.
Exactly.
Long past his lifetime, people will talk about him as the greatest women's basketball coach of all time, and he deserves to be talked about as the greatest college basketball coach of all time.
I mean, it's kind of like he's like the Nick Saban of women's basketball, only better. Like, Alabama's so dominating year in and year out, but like sometimes they'll slip up a little bit, but this UConn team just doesn't. I mean, so it's amazing. It really is. And I mean, like I said, it's women's college basketball, so they don't get all the love and all the expectations that they should. But I mean, they deserve it.
They really do. It's nuts. And I apologize for everyone that I'm texting. We don't have the technology and everything to have little earbuds and do all that. So the way I communicate with our producer over there, Steven, is through text messages, which sometimes they're very hard to communicate because it's it's a long drawn out text messages, and I can't be like, okay, or give him a head nod or something like that. I have to just text him back and say, got it, man. I can do this, or you have to do that. But anyways, who cares about that? We're talking about Gino Auriemma.
Yeah.
Best college. Okay, this is how I'm gonna break it down, and I agree with everything you said. Every single thing you said, I agree with. You can't argue in basketball that a player is better than another player by, how do I put this? You can't say Kobe. You can't argue that LeBron James is better than Kobe without talking about rings. No one does it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you can't argue that Gino Auriemma isn't the greatest college basketball coach of all time because you're going to bring in rings. Right. And he wins rings. So you can't make that argument. People make that argument all the time. Well, LeBron's better than Kobe. And I believe LeBron's far better than Kobe. But people say, well, Kobe's got 6 rings. Yeah. Okay, well, Gino Auriemma has 11. Mm-hmm. And the only person behind him is John Wooden at 10. So he has surpassed everyone. Yeah. So you can mark him there. And I'm not one to argue rings, but you could look at everything else. He's created the best of the best in college basketball. He's won 74 straight games in a row. And this is, he goes on countless streaks. And he wins championships, and he does it all. He produces WNBA players, and he just goes out there and he does what you need to do to win and create genius. And because of that, he is the best college basketball coach of all time.
Yeah, and just don't know. I mean, 11 championships. I don't think we'll ever see. I mean, what's Coach K have, like 7, 8?
No, I think Coach K has like 4.
Exactly. So I mean, for a coach that even coached that long, and I mean, we'll just. I doubt we'll ever see that again.
No, I doubt it.
And then he's not even done, which is like the most impressive part. I mean, he could probably coach for another 10 years.
He's young.
15.
Yeah.
That's scary.
The thing I respect about him most, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, is that he always talks about how he cares about the game more than he cares about winning. That he would retire if it meant that it would improve the game of women's college basketball. And I respect that so much in a man because he's going out there and doesn't care about himself. He doesn't care about, his records or his wins or any of that. He cares about the game of college basketball and the game of women's basketball. And he'll put that way before anything else. And because of that, I got to applaud him.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
That just adds on to the legacy that is Gino Auriemma. All right. Today's show is brought to you in part by the Ledgedale Country Kitchen and Barbecue Pit located on 1387 Ledgedale Road, Lake Ariel. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're looking for a good home-cooked meal, come to the Ledgedale Country Kitchen, where everyone is treated like family. All right, we're getting into some fun right now. Yeah, I see you getting to the page. We got to get to it. It's exciting. It's definitely exciting. We have our top 10 NBA players of all time. Me and Tom have created our thoughts on the top 10 NBA players of all time. He has his and I have mine. And obviously we've seen them beforehand because we had to, lash out and say how terrible each other's are. And they're not too different. There's some surprises in each, I believe, but I'm looking at mine. Mine's pretty boring, but Tom's is out there. And I love it. So we'll start with mine because mine's boring and we probably won't even talk about it much. Right. So mine is Julius Erving, Shaq, Tim Duncan, Wilt Chamberlain at 7. We're counting down. 10. Now we're at 7. 6 is Larry Bird. 5 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 4 is Magic Johnson. 3 is Bill Russell. 2 is my boy LeBron. And 1 is Michael Jordan. And go ahead.
Okay. I have at 10 going to 1. Tim Duncan, Kobe, Shaq, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Wilt, Kareem, LeBron, Magic Johnson, Of course, the GOAT, Michael Jordan.
All right, so we can agree that Michael Jordan is number 1.
Head and shoulders, yes. All above, yeah.
Then you got a little difference there too. But you know what? I have Magic at 4. And that's only because I believe that LeBron James is the second best basketball player of all time. And in my head, he's really close to 1. Right. Really close to 1. He's come very close a few times. And, you know, I don't know how to put this. In my head, LeBron James is the best basketball player of all time in his own aspect. Michael Jordan did what he did and was phenomenal at it. But LeBron James, in his own aspect, in this new era of basketball, which isn't even now, but 5 years ago, was and is the greatest basketball player of that time period. And because of that, I think that it's very hard to argue. I tell people all the time, I won't argue that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. Right. But if you want me to, I will argue that LeBron is. If you say, well, LeBron's not number 2, then I'm going to bring up the argument, okay, well, LeBron's number 1 in my head. The only reason I put Michael there is because it's a consensus that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time, and I'm not willing to argue deep enough into that because there's not a deep enough argument into that. But in my opinion, LeBron James is number 2 because of that, because I can argue that he's the greatest. I can do that, but I won't because I respect Michael Jordan that much. So I have LeBron James at number 2. Magic, you know, you have Magic at number 2. That's hard to argue as well. You know, he did what his game involves what LeBron does today. Yeah. So, you know, they're similar, and I agree that. I respect that. The only reason I have Magic at number 4 is because Bill Russell's got 11 rings. That's awesome. He defined winning. And you can't leave him out of that to me because of that. And many people have him at 2 because of his rings. Well, I can't have him at 2 because of the LeBron thing that I just argued. Yeah. So we'll put him at 3. Who do you have? You have Kareem at 4, and I have Magic. We've gone over Magic already. Kareem's a good one. I have Kareem at 5, so we're pretty even there. Right. I have a question. How did Larry Bird not make your list?
I mean, it's tough because he's obviously one of the best shooters to ever play the game. I just, when I made my list, obviously rings play a factor, but to me, it's not a huge factor. I try to base it off of just pure talent and, just team or no team, rings or no rings. And then I try to break it down from there. And then, the ring factor adds in a little bit, but I try not to make it the most important thing. So, it was hard to leave him off the list. It really was. He was, he's definitely number 11. Yeah. He's sneaking in there. But, I also looked at pure dominant guys like Shaq, like Magic, like LeBron, like guys that just imposed their will, like Wilt Chamberlain, guys that were just really unguardable. I mean, Magic Johnson, 6'9" point guard, vision like Steve Nash, just amazing. So, I mean, I don't know how you guard that. You got Shaq Diesel, just a monster of a man, it's just a beast of a man. You can't guard him in the paint. You got Tim Duncan, just a pure perfectionist, technician in the paint, off the block. I mean, it was tough. You could definitely argue him in there, and I wouldn't have a problem with him putting him in there. I just don't know who I would take out. Maybe Oscar Robertson. I don't know though. It'd be tough. You have Oscar Robertson pretty far up there at 6.
Yeah. So, I mean, you'd have to take out. I was shocked at Kobe.
I mean, I could make that argument also. I mean, everyone compares the closest thing to Jordan. Everyone says is Kobe, and in some respects, I do see it, and some I don't. I mean, obviously, I think Jordan is a better player. Kobe, a little bit more selfish, I guess you could say. Yeah. But I mean, he's up there with the assists. I mean, he's, points just day in and day out, 81 points in a game. Amazing. You never say that again. I mean, he's the Mamba. He's got the rings, which, again, I said doesn't play a huge factor for me, but it has to a little bit.
Yeah, basketball, it always will.
So, I mean, one of the best players Lakers have ever seen, which is saying a lot, considering you could make an argument for like 3 or 4 of those guys in the top 10. I mean, just an all-around great player year in and year out. And it's his last year. So maybe I had a little soft spot. Maybe I had a little soft spot for the Mamba, you know.
All right. I got another one for you. I got a ton of questions on your list. I've been dying to ask you. You, in my opinion, Tim Duncan is the best player of our generation. Of this current generation that is still playing but falling off slowly, Tim Duncan is the best player. He's won the most games. He's won the most respect, if you could say that. He has done everything he needed to do, and he wins, and he dominates year after year. So I believe he's the best player in our generation. I have him at 8, below Shaq or above Shaq and Dr. J, Julius Erving. You have him at 10, below Kobe. Like, he's at 10, and Kobe's at 9. So, do you believe Kobe Bryant is a better player than Tim Duncan?
I mean, that's tough. That really is. Because, I mean, the 3 guys that I've actually got to see play, 4 on here would be LeBron, Shaq, Kobe, and Duncan. And, again, maybe it's the wow factor of Kobe because, Tim, you never see it. You never see him throwing down any dunks. I mean, he dunks, obviously, but he's not, windmill and tomahawk and he's so technical. I mean, all right, if there's any UFC fans out there, I'll break it down like this. George St. Pierre, one of the best fighters probably of all time you can make an argument for. Just guy's amazing. I think he has 2 losses his whole career. He's so technical, it's boring to watch his fights. It is. It really is because he's just so, tough to beat and so technical that you don't really want to watch it because there's no excitement. He just goes out, he wins, that's it. That's kind of what I get from Tim Duncan. It's just, he goes out, he does his business, that's it. He wins. But I mean, he wins rings. He wins, he's an all-star. So that's why I have him at 10. I mean, you could definitely put him ahead of Kobe, even Shaq. But
I don't know if he's above Shaq.
That's what I'm saying. These are 2 of the best big men I've ever seen play. And so, yeah, I mean, but above Kobe, you could make an argument for. Yeah. But I think Kobe just kind of has that wow factor. You can go back to when he was rocking the number 8 and he was throwing out some of the nastiest dunks I've ever seen. I mean.
Oh, yeah, you definitely could. You definitely could. I mean, I don't even have him in my top 10, but I don't have Oscar Robertson either. Right. I'm not even going to ask you that because I never got to watch him. I think he's hands down one of the best point guards of all time, and he will forever live as one of the best point guards of all time. So I can't argue that. And I never got to watch the guy play. So I can't sit here and go, well, he's not in the top 10 because I have no idea.
And that's the toughest part of this whole thing is we didn't get to see all these players actually play. I mean, you see highlights and everything, but you expect that. You expect the greatness because everyone talks about him so highly. So, I mean, it's tough, but, that's my list and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, no, I respect that. I throw this out there. If you're out there, if you're listening and you don't agree with our list, because I'm sure a bunch of people out there are going, oh, you're wrong. You're wrong. That's awful. Why would you have Kobe in there? Michael Jordan sucks. Why is he in there? Tweet at us. Tweet us at the show. At Average Joe Sports. That's AVG Joe Sports. Tell us what you think, and if we get some good ones, we'll read them on the show. So, of course, obviously, we'll we love the fan sport, but see, I don't know. I have Dr. J. I want to make the argument for Dr. J because I know you're not even going to argue it because no one could, because obviously we never got to see him play, and even people above us didn't get to see him play. Right. But this is it. Dr. J was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan. Obviously, when Dr. J played, there wasn't the powerhouses that played when Michael Jordan played, when Magic Johnson played, when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played, when Kobe, when LeBron, all them. Basketball was not the same game. And even when because you can't, and this is a basketball list, as you should say, a professional basketball list, because Julius Erving, you can't argue as the number 10 basketball player or NBA player of all time. But you can't argue he's the number 10, professional basketball player. He was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan ever happened. He did things that no one thought imaginable. And yes, he can't be argued as the greatest because he didn't play against people that were considered some of the greatest. And because of that, you don't know what his talent would have what would have happened to his talent if he played people like that? But that's my argument, because he's at my 10, and a lot of people say, why is he in your top 10? He didn't even play with any of the greats. He was before all that. Well, I don't care. He created basketball before it was basketball. That's what he did.
And again, we talk about it sometimes. I'll just say it real quick. You can't really knock a player for that. I mean, just because LeBron didn't play in Jordan's era doesn't mean
that's the Steph Curry argument.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't say that Steph Curry is not,
the best basketball player in basketball because he didn't play, when Kobe and LeBron were in their highlights, or when Michael Jordan or Wilt or any of them were, in their prime. Well, that sucks. He wasn't born until, after that.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, he can't affect that. That's not his fault. So you can't do anything. But even Steph Curry, he plays with a lot better talent than Julius Erving ever did.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't do any of that. I don't know. I want to see. We're gonna keep going, but please tweet into the show. I mean, we're gonna see it all. We're gonna jump over the Professional Basketball Hall of Fame. You're excited. I'm excited. Our boy, we grew up watching these guys. This is all our first, Professional Basketball Hall of Fame that we could sit there and go, he was awesome.
Exactly.
He was awesome. I saw him play. Like, he was so cool. All of them. I'm going to read off the list. If you haven't heard it, this is the entire list. You have Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal, Allen Iverson, Yao Ming, Tom Izzo, Jerry Reinsdorf, Cheryl Swoops, Zelmo Beatty, Darrell Gerritsen, I can never pronounce that name correctly, and John McLendon. These guys are all spectacular. They all have everything you need to create a solid Hall of Fame, because this is a phenomenal Hall of Fame.
It is.
Phenomenal. Just, you could read the top 4 names right there. Okay, let's bounce Yao Ming a little bit back there, because a lot of people argue that. A lot of people argue Yao Ming should not be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And yes, what he did throughout his career maybe doesn't define him as a Hall of Famer, but what he did for international basketball defines him as a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely, yeah.
So he could be in there. But if you read off Shaq, AI, Tom Izzo, and Cheryl Swoops, you have the best Hall of Fame class that I've seen in a few years.
Exactly.
They're right there.
They're phenomenal. Phenomenal. And
I want you to touch, because I know you're so excited to talk about this. Give me your thoughts on AI.
making a Hall of Fame.
Oh, man, I'm so happy. I mean, this, for people, you got to understand, this is the first player I remember actually watching and rooting for. And I know a lot of kids are with me here. Allen Iverson just transcended the game, really brought youth to it. And,
Oh, gosh.
everyone wanted to rock an arm sleeve. Everyone wanted a headband. Everyone wanted the AI shoes and jerseys. I had the white, I had the red, black, blue jerseys. I had them all, and you had to.
You had to.
If I could wear cornrows, I would have. I would have put
I
on
did
some
for a little
cornrows.
while.
You did for a little bit. That's right.
Because of him.
That's
It's
right.
because of him. All of it is
Because of him. I still own his jersey to this day.
Yeah.
My little 7-year-old, extra small child's youth jersey. I still own it. I'll never get rid of it.
Oh yeah. You were the first kid at practice on the day of Jersey Day, and you were like, I want number 3.
Yep.
If you didn't get number 3, you might quit the team.
Yeah, you hated life. You hated life.
You needed 3.
At that point, if you grew up in our area, Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is where we're from, if you grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, you needed number 3, because the biggest people in basketball in your life at that time was Allen Iverson and Jerry McNamara. And if you did not have number 3, you were terrible. You weren't even a good basketball player. You could be LeBron James's kid. If you had 4, the number 4, you weren't good anymore.
Which was his Olympic team,
Nope.
His Olympic team.
Yeah, but it doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter. Yeah, all right. It's a close second, I guess we could say. I guess it's a close second. You can read down. There's a lot of people on here. Shaq, obviously, there's no doubt. We named him. We both had him in our top 10 NBA players of all time. He is a Hall of Famer, hands down. You can't even make that argument that he is not a Hall of Famer. And then you have guys, Cheryl Swoops, who, really she defined the WNBA for a long time. For a long, long time. She's a 4-time champion. She's a 3-time NBA or WNBA MVP. She's a 2-time scoring champion. She did it all. She really did. She did it all. She defined it. I'm looking at the list now. I was very happy to see Daryl Getsons get in here. It's always nice to see officials get into the Hall of Fame, because my grandpa is a ref, and he's been a ref, an official, and an ump for years. And he always argues with me and always sits there and tells me about, oh, that was a good call, as I'm sitting there screaming at the TV saying how bad that call was. And it gives you a new sense of light on the issue. So I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see him get in there. John McClendon, who really was one of the beginning African American basketball coaches in this country. He defined, or he opened so many doors for African American players and coaches in this sport, and it's good to see him in. And he rounds out a phenomenal Hall of Fame. He does that. And then Tom Izzo, of course. I mean, he's still around. We got to see him coach, and there's no doubt every year tournament time comes around, and you say, well, Michigan State might win it because of Tom Izzo. He knows how to win, and he knows how to win in March. So, I mean, that's, awesome. And that's all you can say. This Hall of Fame class, I have no complaints. None.
And can I just say how awesome it was that the answer showed up to the speech with no suit on? What did it say? Virginia? Oh, what did it say? VA something.
I don't remember.
It was awesome.
I love Virginia. Yes. I heart Virginia. Yes. That was it. Yes. That's awesome. He's the man.
Everybody is.
Answer.
Yeah.
Clap it up. And also Shaq and Yao too. Guys we grew up watching, and I usually turn into the Rockets games for T-Mac, but it was cool to see Yao. It was cool to see Yao because he was so huge. It was like it was amazing. I mean, he was massive. He's like 7'6", right?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
7'6". He was huge. He was a freak of nature. I love seeing pictures of him standing
Next to Shaq and Kevin Hart. Makes my day. I can see that picture 1,000 times. I'm still gonna laugh. Yep. It's gonna happen. All right, we're gonna move on, because nobody can ever complain. And if you do have complaints, tweet into the show, and I'm going to prove you wrong. Colin Kaepernick, the only person left in football right now that anybody talks about. And I'm glad. You know what? I love it. Because without it, we miss football. And I can't go a day without football. The college football is over. There's nothing really going on there. There's some transfers here and there, but, nothing huge. Colin Kaepernick, all the free agents have been signed. Colin Kaepernick's it. He's left. RG3 is trying to have a press conference and stuff, but that's nothing big because he's already on a team and he's already going to be the backup. So Colin Kaepernick is what we have left. I'll break down the scenario right here. Kaepernick is set to make $11.9 million this year. Guaranteed money, guaranteed by the San Francisco 49ers. The Denver Broncos want Colin Kaepernick on the team. They're willing to trade a 4th-round draft pick, but they want to reconstruct his contract, and he will lose approximately $4.9 million. Kaepernick says no. And San Francisco 49ers say they will not pay the $4.9 million. Yeah. There's two sides to look at this. One, the Denver Broncos, in my mind, don't even need a quarterback because Mark Sanchez is a decent quarterback. He's a good fallback quarterback, and there's good quarterbacks in the draft. And then the other aspect of this is, why are you going to pay $11.9 million for Colin Kaepernick when you could get a Mark Sanchez and another guy that's a little better than Mark Sanchez for cheaper than that? Save yourself some money. Now you have 2 quarterbacks instead of paying. And this is the argument everybody makes. Why would you pay Colin Kaepernick Brock Osweiler money? Well, because Brock Osweiler is not as good as Colin Kaepernick. That's easy. But if you could get 2 Mark Sanchez's, or a Mark Sanchez and a Brock Osweiler for the same price that you're going to pay Colin Kaepernick or Brock Osweiler, then do that. It's crazy not to. It is, because you're going to save yourself money. But if he does go to the Broncos, that could be scary.
It could be. I mean, for me, I'll start with the Broncos without Colin Kaepernick. So
The dreaded.
I mean, they have Mark Sanchez. They bring him in, who has shown flashes. I mean, he brought the Jets.
Played for the Jets.
2 AFC championships.
Yeah.
Straight. Didn't win, but he brought him in.
Who cares?
And I mean,
played the Patriots in one of them. That doesn't count.
So this guy, you always say that, he's good. He can play. He'll never get a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, that was with the Eagles. With Denver, it could be a different question. I mean,
I could play quarterback at the Broncos and win a Super Bowl. Right?
That's what I'm saying. No, that defense is outstanding.
I just almost choked on my water trying to get that out because that's how excited I was.
Right. and it's absolutely true. I mean, Mark Sanchez is a gamer. Does he make stupid mistakes often? Yeah. But, I mean, he'll also be known for the butt fumble, which it is what it is. But I think he's got weapons around him. He's got a good receivers. He just got C.J. Anderson back. I mean, and obviously we know about that defense. So he doesn't have to go out and throw 5 touchdowns a game.
No.
Manage the game. Don't throw any interceptions. Don't fumble the ball. And you'll win. So that's without Colin Kaepernick. Now bring in Kaepernick. Okay. We know strong arm, can run, very athletic guy. Obviously fell off over the past couple of years. But that was with San Francisco, and the whole team was really struggling. Harbaugh left. So it was kind of just like a whole – it was just chaotic. So in a sturdy organization like Denver, with John Elway over him, watching him, making sure he doesn't do anything stupid, I think he could also be good there. I mean, I don't know who they would go with if they did bring on Kaepernick, him or Sanchez.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Kaepernick gives them more of, the offense, another dimension, because he could run, they could run a little option, a little read option. So, I don't know. But, I mean, even if you stay with the Niners and Chip Kelly, his whole scheme, he could definitely fit there. But, I mean, it's too much turmoil. Like, he doesn't want to be there. No. People don't really want him to be there, so it's kind of just a bad fit.
And he could play. He could play for Chip Kelly, and I would be very surprised for him not to succeed in Chip Kelly's offense.
Right.
Because that's what Chip Kelly runs, is a fast pace, let's be athletic and let's run and let's wear our defense out offense.
And never slow down. And that's what Colin Kaepernick is. He's a workhorse like that, and he's athletic like that, and he could succeed in that kind of offense and that kind of game and everything like that. And I don't understand. I get 100% that there's much more that goes into this than just the play style, because obviously the fans don't like him in San Francisco. The money is a big issue right now. The fact that his girlfriend lives in New York seems to be a problem. I don't know why, but he doesn't want to be in San Francisco. And because of that, he has the ego and he has this big problem with himself that he will not play for San Francisco. I guarantee it. Before the year. So we don't even have to talk about that. But he would strive in Chip Kelly's offense.
I believe so. And I mean, for the Niners, there's a couple good prospects at quarterback coming out of the draft, but nothing that would really fit that offense really well. But I mean, here's a guy to watch out for, Dak Prescott, that they could definitely pick up later. Very athletic guy. I kind of compare him to Cam Newton. Not as good, but definitely as athletic. Big quarterback. And we saw what Cam did all year. Maybe he could excel in the NFL as one of these guys, and that's the new breed of quarterback we'll be seeing. So there's just a name to throw it out there, make it interesting.
I could not agree with you more. 100%. My dad's a huge Denver Broncos fan, huge, and he throws out a new name every week of who they're getting at quarterback, even though I've already said that name a week earlier. A week earlier, I'll be like, oh, Colin. Or Connor Cook's going to be Denver's quarterback. Just watch. He's a good quarterback. Yeah. And a week later, after, it kind of looks like it's going to happen, after I already said it, he'll be like, Connor Cook's going to be Denver's quarterback. Yeah, good guy. He kind of adopts that as his own and takes it over. Yeah, all the time. Right. All the time.
After he does his homework. It's like, oh, man.
I'm his homework. That's exactly it. But Dak Prescott, you could throw out Paxton Lynch. You could throw out Wentz. You could throw out Goff, because they're going to be gone. They're not going to make it. Connor Cook's going to be there, but he's got a lot of attitude problems, and I understand he could work. If you're set on giving Mark Sanchez a true shot, then draft Dak Prescott. I agree 100%. He is a Colin Kaepernick and a Paxton Lynch and a Wentz, but like a little less. Right. He's not there yet, but he could be there.
And I watched him a lot his junior year. When they were actually good. I think they had the number 1 spot for a week, maybe. Mississippi State was a very good football team. Yeah. And I watched him a lot, and I really liked his play. He's tough to bring down. By the goal line, he's unstoppable. His senior year, they weren't as good, and he took a beating. But, he played against Alabama his whole career. He played against Auburn, Florida, SEC defenses that are just stout, and the closest you can get to NFL defenses. So I think this guy's NFL ready, and I think he could really, I don't know about right out of the gate, but definitely if you sit him behind Sanchez, you sit him behind Kaepernick, get him familiarized with the playbook and defenses and stuff like that, and send him out there. I think he'd be a very good quarterback.
I agree. I agree 100%. You know, I don't disagree. Here's another NFL topic that I don't want to get in. I don't want to get into too much because there's a lot to say, but obviously we can't judge the situation. What's going on? No, okay, we can judge. It's our job to judge because as we've said in our last show, this is our job. Our job is to come out here, observe what is happening, what looks like is happening, and make comments on it and give our opinion. Our job is to give our opinion as long as it's professional and as long as it's accurate. Right. Greg Hardy told Adam Scheffler, and if you saw the entire interview, you know, he talks a lot, and you know, you really get a feel for him. And this is just one line in a decently long interview. I've never laid a hand on any woman. That's exactly what he says. I just find it very hard to believe that all of this continues to happen and he's never laid a hand on a woman, ever. Why do you keep getting suspended from the NFL? Why do you keep getting arrested? Why do all these allegations keep coming up about you if you've never done any of this? Maybe for a while, I thought when all that stuff was going on with Johnny Football and his girlfriend, my advice to Johnny Manziel was get out of it. Get out of the relationship. Leave. It's a bad relationship. It's just going nowhere. And maybe this girl is just trying to get you in trouble at this point for some odd known reason. Maybe she's a Steelers fan. Give me a call. I mean, I'm a Steelers fan. We can hang out or something. Because if you're dating Johnny Manziel, maybe we can meet Johnny Manziel. I can get a jersey or something. You know, we go to Vegas. But anyways, this is it. You have already gotten out of that situation. I don't believe him and his girlfriend are even together. I got that from the interview. But why does it continue to come up? Why did it go so long? Maybe none of it happened, but maybe you allowed it to get to that point. You know, and it's so hard to clear your name from there. Peyton Manning, that terrible HGH allegation came out, and Peyton Manning said that he didn't do it. To this day, there is critics that say he did do it. And he's one of the most humble people in the entire sports world. So why are you this guy who no one wants to take a chance on because no one believes you when you say, I've never laid a hand on any woman? So my question, or my problem with it is it seems a little too innocent for the situation, for everything that has happened. It seems like he just says none of it ever happened. If he said, okay, look, like, yeah, there was some confrontation. I may have pushed her. Like, there could be some things, you know, just like that pitcher for the Yankees said, yeah, the gun in the garage was my fault. I did that. It was my bad, but the rest of it didn't happen. I doubt that the allegation that you threw your girlfriend onto a pile of guns is completely false. Yeah. And the rest of it. So I don't know. I could rant on about this forever, and I'm not going to because it's not my place, obviously. And I'm never going to persuade enough people into making action of never signing this man, because I don't believe he ever should get an NFL shot again. I think that Ray Rice deserves a shot before he has, because Ray Rice has done things to make his name a better name, and Greg Hardy is not. So I don't know. Yeah, I'll let you talk about it a little bit, because
I'll just touch on it real quick, because honestly, I didn't see this interview. I had no idea that this even went down until today, until I saw this. I mean, look, we weren't there. You know, we don't know him personally. But from what I've heard, the guy is just not right in the head. I mean, he's nuts. I mean, obviously these allegations don't just pop up out of nowhere because nothing happened and people just want to make a story. I mean, are there people tell lies? Yeah, obviously, but I'm sure things have gotten physical between him and his girlfriend before. You know, I'm not saying he, you know, full on beat her almost to death, but I'm sure things got physical, like I said. So that's what I have to say about it. But I mean,
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's just a situation that, you know, maybe he's right. And if he's right, good. I'm glad he's right. I'm glad he's telling the truth. Yeah. But if he's wrong and he's lying about this, then he shouldn't get an NFL shot again. And I don't believe he ever will. And I'm actually okay with it. I'm very okay with it. This is another awful topic. awful topic. Well, we'll come back to, okay. Grayson Allen's returning to Duke. Everyone listening to this broadcast just sighed, just like you did. He is returning to Duke for his junior season. It just came out today or yesterday, last night, that he is returning to Duke for his junior season. Last year, this past season, I get nobody cares, but he averaged 21.6 points per game, 3.5 assists, 4.6 rebounds. He shot 46% from the field and 42% from free throw, or from the 3-point. He was a good player. And I said it 1,000 times that I think he's one of the best players in college basketball, and he will be a good NBA player. My problem is that I dislike him so much that I don't want him to be at Duke any longer. I don't want anyone to be at Duke. If Duke shut down as a basketball organization, I would be okay with it because I'm a Syracuse fan, and that's the only reason. So many people would be okay with this. He is. I could care less that he's returning to Duke. What I care about is he is Christian Laettner. He is. Yeah. I thought of this whole thing today. Get ready for this. He had the opportunity. To leave. He did what he had to do. He tripped who he had to trip, and everyone hated him. Every single person hated him. And he could have left, just like Gerald Henderson did after he elbowed the dude in the face. Just like, J.J. Redick stayed there a while, but everybody hated him. People are hated at Duke, and people leave, except for Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner was the only one who said, you know what, I'm going to be hated for 4 years. I'm going to be the most hated person in America for 4 years. Well, Grayson Allen he didn't do much his freshman year, although I didn't like him as soon as the Final Four came out. But the fact that he is the most hated player in college basketball and he is returning, I don't believe his draft stock is going to go up, and I don't believe he thinks that either. What I believe is he wants to be the most hated person in college basketball once again, because he had the shot to leave, he had the shot to call it quits and go to the NBA and play in the NBA and just kind of disappear for a little while, or be good, and people really won't hate you as much because you're not a Duke. But he chose to come back and be hated once again. Why? I'm so upset. Why? It gets me so mad.
All right, look, I'm just gonna power through this right now, okay? Look,
This is the hardest segment we've ever done.
Grayson Allen, phenomenal player, great year at Duke. The team was good, but he was really the highlight of it. You could say Brandon Ingram also was, and he also had a good year. But Grayson Allen really kept that team together. He was, he's a scrappy player. I think the move for him to stay will benefit him, and it was a good move. I'm gonna stop talking now because it's just gonna get.
You're getting way too positive.
You can't take away. I'll hate a player as much as the next guy, but I'll never knock him for being good. If he's a good player, I have to give it to him. Tom Brady, can't stand him. Will never like him, but I respect him. And I think he's probably the best quarterback ever. And so Grayson Allen, good move on coming back to Duke. Just hope you guys will make the tournament next year, and I hope you don't win a game. Honestly, I don't care how you do as a player in your own stats, but Duke, hope Coach K retires and leaves you guys and goes to North Carolina or something. I really do.
All right.
Doesn't even head coach, just assistant coaches to Roy Williams. I'm done.
All right. We gotta stop before things are gonna get violent. We're gonna break stuff in this new studio. I'm not about this. All right, this is it. This is other positive, negative news, depending on who you root for in the NBA. The Warriors have lost the last 2 out of 3 games. They now have to go 4-0 in their last 4 games to break the record, to break the Bulls record and win 73 games. They have 2 games against the Spurs remaining and 2 games against the Grizzlies. Our producer over there is a Bulls fan. He's loving this. He's loving every second of it. But I don't like it. I want them to win 73 games. I do. But I don't care about me. Are they going to do it?
Look, 2 out of those 4 games are against the San Antonio Spurs. 1 being in San Antonio, excuse me. San Antonio still undefeated at home, right?
Yeah.
for a reason. Because like we said before, Tim Duncan's probably the best player of our generation. You could definitely make an argument for it. You know, they got guys like Tony Parker, obviously, who are still doing it at a high level. And then you add the youth factor in like Kawhi Leonard, who are just phenomenal players, and they know how to play this Golden State team. I mean, maybe Golden State gets them at home, and they may be able to tie this record, but I really don't see them breaking it. I mean, they definitely needed would they lose? The Timberwolves. They definitely needed that game. Now it's going to be all uphill battle. And, you know, it's funny because in a matter of like a week, it went from, oh, they're definitely going to do it, it's no question, to now, oh, well, I doubt it.
Like 3 days.
Yeah, so, and as a fan, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I kind of want to see it just so I could say that I saw that record get broke in my lifetime. But I also do love, I'm a big Jordan fan, you know, 95, 96 Bulls. I don't know. It's tough.
It is.
It's tough.
I disagree with you.
Just quickly, if they played in the series, the Bulls would sweep them up. And you could tweet at me, and we could argue that it'd probably be 4-1 or 4-1 maybe. The Bulls would house Golden State any day.
All right. I don't disagree with that.
I don't.
Tweet me. Come on. We could argue it.
I don't. I agree that the Bulls oh my gosh. My dad's already texted me. Listen to this. My dad texts me and goes, no way Cook will be with the Broncos. That's what he says. Of course, now he says that, you know.
Think about it for a little bit.
As soon as he's like, nah, I didn't say that. No way. He probably looked right at my mom. He's like, I didn't say that. That didn't happen. It's like, yeah, all right, whatever you say. All right. Anyways, I agree with you that the Bulls would destroy the Warriors. But it's not because of Steph Curry, because people hate on Steph Curry because he's good, but that's the only reason that they hate on him. I believe that if Curry played with the Bulls in that, he would still be phenomenal. I don't know if he'd be the freak of nature that he is now, but I don't think Jordan would be the freak of nature he was if he played now that compared to when he played back then. I don't think any of that happens. I think that the time that you play has a big factor to do with how well you are. Again, I'll repeat myself. Jordan wouldn't be as good as he was back then right now. He wouldn't. He doesn't have the game.
Tweet it in, folks.
He doesn't. There's today's game, you need to be able to hit a three. You need to be athletic. You want to know what Jordan did? Jordan was real good at getting hit and going up and dunking and getting real physical. Well, today's game, you can't get physical. So that's a lot harder to do. It's like saying, you know, Ewing would be good today. He wouldn't be, because Ewing would punch you in the stomach if you went up to dunk the ball. And that's how he stopped people. I'm not saying that Jordan wouldn't be good. I think Jordan would be an all-star. He'd be the MVP. He'd win championships, and he'd, you know, still go down as one of the best players of all time. But I think that Steph Curry would still go down as, like, finish. I don't think he'd be better than Jordan, but I think he'd still be as good as he is now. Okay, not as good as he is now. I'm getting words out. You guys are giving me dirty looks. Curry, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to calm myself down. I'm going to say it right now. Curry would still be good. Everybody makes the argument, well, Curry wouldn't be good back then. Curry would be good back then. He wouldn't be as good as he is right now, but Jordan wouldn't be as good as he was right now either. It all depends on your timeline. Curry is good at playing basketball today. Jordan was great at playing basketball when Jordan played. LeBron James was great at playing basketball 5 years ago when that was their style of game. You want to know why? Because they created that style of game. That's what they did. They are the creators of that style of play. So I don't take anything away from them. I do believe the Bulls would destroy them in a series because I don't think Draymond Green's that good. I think Klay Thompson's good, but he's not phenomenal. And I don't think the rest of that team's, you know, nearly as good as the Bulls team was. When it goes to will they beat the record, they will beat the record because they have 4 games left and 2 of them are against the Spurs. One of them is tonight, 10:30. Tune in. The Spurs don't play their starters this late in the season. And Greg Popovich doesn't care if they're going to break the record. He doesn't care if, you know, Phil Jackson calls him and begs him to start his players. All he cares about is the fact that the Spurs are going to win the championship and win the finals. That's all that goes through that man's head. He could care less. So the Spurs starters will not start these 2 games. And if they do start, I could be completely wrong, but I don't foresee them starting. When it comes to the Grizzlies, As long as they don't choke, they should handle them pretty fairly. Yeah. And if this, we just got a tweet. What if the Spurs beat them twice without starters? Well, then the Cavs are winning the finals. Yeah. Wow. And LeBron's getting a ring to Cleveland. Wow. That's what's happening, because the Warriors will have no momentum going into the finals at all. None. So, yeah, but I don't see that happening at all. I think that the Celtics are a good team, and I think that the Timberwolves are a good team and on the urge of being a very good team in the upcoming years. So I don't think that they lost to the Phoenix Suns and the Sixers. They lost to decent teams.
And Wiggins had a very solid game, too.
Exactly. So, and so did Towns. Towns shut down Curry for a while. Yeah. So, it was a good matchup. But when it comes to that, yes, I do believe they'll break the record. And I'm excited to see it, because I like the Bulls team more than I like the Warriors team. But I want to be able to tell my kids, in 10, 20 years, 30 years, yeah, I saw that team break the record.
Exactly.
I got to do that. So that's what I'm excited for.
Can I just say real quick?
Yeah.
Why Steph Curry would not struggle back in the early 90s, but not be as good. Obviously, shooting wasn't, that guys like Steve Kerr, obviously, but he would be a totally different, something I've never seen before. Yeah. But the first game they played in Detroit, when he drove the lane on the bad boys, they'd put him on the ground every time, and he would really be struggling. He'd be hurting. I mean, Jordan suffered through it all. Yeah. I'm not saying he would be bad. I'm not saying he would be the best. He would still be a good player. I'm just saying right now, like you said, the game is made for him right now. Yeah. But I'm saying Cleveland, if you see them in the championship or in the finals, put them on the ground early. Send them a message. Channel your inner Patrick Ewing and block them. Yeah. Do what you got to do, okay?
Look, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think that if he drove, I think he's a twig and he gets snapped in half. Right. But I think that his three-point range and three-point shot is so good that no one would know how to guard it back then. And he still has some of the best ball handles to ever live. It's true. People back then knew how to dribble pass, no-look pass. They knew how to fake the defense out. Curry could get around anyone standing still. Yeah. So the fact that he'd be able to work so well behind the three-point line is why he'd be successful. He would not be able to drive. He would die. No, people would kill him. If he ran into, Dennis Rodman on the Pistons, it'd be sad. I'd actually feel bad for him. So that, I can't argue it, because I agree with you, but I don't agree with, I have a different argument. I think that he would be good, but only because of the three-point line. Right. All right. Next, the moment everyone's been waiting for, we've been waiting for, and he's standing on the phone. I heard he's waiting for us. We'll bring in University of Hartford pitcher and Valley View graduate, our good friend, Collin Ferguson, right after a word from our sponsors. Are you one of the thousands of people out there planning a significant event? Maybe you're getting married, celebrating a milestone, or planning the party of your dreams. Well, I have the perfect touch to your special event. Flowers by John Mackey is one of the leading event companies in all of Northeast Pennsylvania. From the wedding party to the reception, they cover everything your event needs. And don't worry about experience or location. Flowers by John Mackey has created magnificent events all over the country. There's no better option for your big day. For more information, visit flowersbyjohnmackey.com or check them out on Facebook. Flowers by John Mackey. Make your event an event to remember. All right. Is he ready? Are we good? We got big Collin Ferguson on the line here.
What's up, boys?
We good? We're waiting for the go. We're waiting for the cue here. All right. We're gonna take a little wait here as everybody gets ready.
Again.
You there?
Oh yeah, 100%. Tweet us your questions for Collin. Yeah. All right, we're good. What's up, Collin? How are you, man?
What's up? How are you guys? Long time no see.
Good, dude. Can we hear him? Is the volume on? Can we hear him? Make sure we can hear him. All right. What's up, brother? How are you, man?
How are you? You hear me?
Yeah, we're good now. We're good.
All right.
Oh, big Steve over there is forgetting to hit buttons. How are you, dude?
I'm good. You guys?
Good, dude. Good. First off, we're glad to have you on the show. I mean, a phenomenal. You're graduate, good friend of ours. Love to have you here. Welcome anytime too, because we love guys like this. We love guys who could say they're on their way, to the big stuff right now.
My pleasure, boys. Thank you.
I'm sure, you're pitcher, D1 pitcher out there that you've watched opening week. You're a Yankees fan, I know. So you definitely watched them get spanked by the Astros. And you watched everything else. We won't bury you with the Yankees here. What I want to know is if everyone there, we watched the Royals Mets opening game. If everyone saw the Royals wore their champion hats and their uniforms and they brought down the World Series banner in front of the team that they beat, the New York Mets. They beat them in the World Series. I want to know your thoughts on that because to me, it was a little disrespectful. And I want to know how you feel as a baseball player, being in that situation, what would be going through your head? How would you react to that?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's a little bit of a slap in the face. But if I was on the Mets and I'd be looking at it like it's just motivation for me to beat them. I mean, they're wearing their gold uniforms. They think they're all special and everything. It's a way for you to be motivated. But for the Royals, it's just like kind of cocky and confident in a way. Like, you beat them already, so why not do it again?
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. I feel 100% what you're saying because I agree with you. I believe that it was a little cocky. Why are you doing this to the team you beat? You were there a year ago, and I'm sure that you wouldn't want to feel that way if the team you lost to brought down the World Series banner and you had to face all that and realize that, you were one game away. And for them, it was 90 feet. If you were the Royals, you were 90 feet away. If you had to play and you had to deal with that, I'm sure you wouldn't be okay about it. Wow. Oh, it's Thursday, obviously. Opening week, it's almost over. We're here. We're gone. Second games are coming through. If you had to pick one team, one game that really stood out to you, I want to hear your thoughts on it. Who do you believe really shined through opening week of baseball?
I think it's tough to pick one team, but I think a team to watch out for, unfortunately, as a Yankee fan, would be the Red Sox. I mean, Big Papi, it's his last season. He's going to try to do something special in his last season. I hate to say it, but they're going to be the team to beat in the East. And then, in the NL, you got the Cubbies. They're by far the favorite for the year. So,
the Cubs. All right, I like that pick. I like that a lot. This is a good one. This is, me and Tom have talked about this numerous times, and we're very passionate about it. We have very driven opinions. Bryce Harper, I know you know about this. Bryce Harper, said last month that baseball is a tired sport. He believes that, there's no flair. You can't celebrate. He wants to be able to flip his bat, as he said, pimp, whatever that means, all that. And then he wore a shirt or a hat during opening game that said, make baseball fun again. I want to know, as a D1 baseball player, you're there, you're living this. What are your thoughts on this revive baseball moment, quote unquote?
I feel like he's talking about more for the fans than the actual game itself. I mean, it's always fun to play, but for the fans, we don't really have anyone to hate. Everyone's basically the same person. I mean, I love to hate Bryce Harper. I absolutely hate him. And I think that's a good thing that he's trying to do because, back in the day, you're going to have guys who everyone hated. But I think it's a good thing he's trying to do for the fans and then try to put a little flair under baseball again. People think it's boring. People takes too long, blah, 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 but it's just good traditional game.
Yeah, all right. I can't argue it. I like the whole, let's create a little rivalry, create a little flair. That's just my opinion, though. But obviously, you're in this. You're in the sport. You realize that you can't do that. It's a sign of disrespect in a way, and it's understandable completely.
I think you could do it. He's shown that he could do it. He comes out, hits home runs on an opening day. He's kind of shoving it in everyone's face that likes to hate him, which is me. Like I said, and it's good for him to do that, though. I think it's going to get some people to watch more baseball.
Good. Yeah, I agree. We're going to get towards you a little bit. This season, you guys, University of Hartford is 9-6. And
19.
No, 19-6. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I saw 19. I'm reading 19. I knew 19. I just didn't say it. 19-6. Killing it. And you alone have 5 saves already on the season. You have about half of the season over already. I want to know, how do you feel about the team, the Hawks, and yourself and your opportunities that you've gotten this season as a whole, as a team, and then individually?
As a team, I think by far we have the best team we've had in program history. I mean, we already have broken so many records. Best start ever, record-wise, longest winning streak, and we just have an all-around great lineup. So, I think we'll do some good things. It just comes down to the tournament. Everyone makes the tournament this year, so we'll see.
All right, cool. And then what about you? I mean, as I said before, you have 5 saves already this season. You're doing well. What are your thoughts on yourself? I know nobody likes to talk about themselves, but how do you feel going into the second half of the season here?
Yeah, I mean, as long as I keep getting opportunities and I keep getting, I mean, if I have the chance to have a save, that means that the team did something right. Like, we're obviously up going into the 9th, so if we could keep doing that, I think we'll be all right.
All right, I like it. You're local, just like us. I mean, Jessup boy, graduated from Valley View, just like we did. At Valley View, phenomenal teams there. You dominated, really. You dominated the district and the area and everything around us as a starting pitcher. You really did. You started a lot of games, and also you did relieve a lot. You came in clutch moments, but you pitched a lot. But now that you're in college, you've become more of a reliever, a closer, and you've adopted very well to that position. Yeah, obviously this year shows that. How do you feel about the role? Do you like being a closing pitcher? Like, do you miss being in for longer periods of time? What are your thoughts on changing that role from starting to relief closer?
Yeah, I feel like most of it's all mental. Like, as a starter, when you're going to pitch. You're going to throw every 5 days. You're going to throw once a weekend. But as a closer and as a relief guy, like, I can come in. We played 3 games a weekend, 5 games a week. I could throw 4 out of 5 games, and it's gotten to the point where I'm warming up basically every game to come in. You just don't know if you're going to throw or not. So you just got to be mentally tough to when you're not getting in or when you are getting in to be ready to do it.
Do you feel like that? That mentally. That I get that you have to have the mental aspect of it, but physically on your body, like, does that warming up 4 or 5 games a week and you don't knowing when you're going to throw, but you do throw more often than other times? Does it put a physical toll on your arm, on your body?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the first year that I kind of feel it. Like, last year I didn't get many opportunities, but this year I'm really taking off, and it seems like I realized maybe a week ago that I had to start doing a little bit more off the field to stay in shape and make sure everything was healthy. So, especially the shoulder, and make sure everything's healthy and you're good.
All right. Last question about you. Do you going down the road? Excuse me. You're young. You're a sophomore in college. Do you see your career? I mean, because obviously we see here you have big things happening. You have a bright future ahead of you, as everyone watching knows. What do you want your career as? Would you prefer closing, or would you want to be a starting pitcher? Would you want to have that, that role where you are pitching, once a week, once every other week in a 5-man rotation, and pitching 6-7 innings?
Yes. Honestly, it doesn't matter. But, I mean, I've really adapted to the closer role or the relief role, long relief. So, like, at some points I come in, I can still get 3 innings in a game. So that's cool too. But honestly, as long as I can make it to the next level, it doesn't matter what.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, and as we all see, you have a great opportunity, and we're all rooting for you here. All right, so we're gonna get this little thing. We love to do it. It's this little thing we call way too early predictions.
Way too early predictions.
And we pick them. We picked the NCAA tournament way too far in advance, and we got none of them right. We picked a lot of things, and we are awful at it. But we're going to ask you. I mean, it's opening week. People are making predictions. You already said that you like the Cubs. If you had to pick right now, I mean, who's your
way too early predictions?
World Series pick? I mean, AL, NL, who are you feeling?
I'm gonna go on a limb and say it's gonna be the Cubs and the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays. I like it.
Cubs
Wow.
and the Blue Jays, and I don't know. That's going to be a good series if it comes down to that because they're both young teams. So I think the Cubs would take it just because of the manager.
The Cubs will take it? You think because of John Madden?
Madden. Yeah, Madden.
Wow.
Madden
all right.
I think Madden will take it for him.
All right. I like the answer. I like the answer a lot, actually. I kind of agree. All right, man. Well, thank you once again for coming in, for joining the show. Pleasure having you. Anytime, you're welcome back. Definitely.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. We'd love to have him on the show. Love to do some, wait for it.
Way too early predictions.
And now we're going to, obviously, but we're going to get into a little bit first. The Royals, as he said, is kind of a disrespectful thing, to kind of cocky to wear your champions uniforms and let down that banner. What are you thinking about it?
I mean, we see it, like teams that, like in the NBA, if you win a championship, you hang the banner at your first home game. So that's not too out of the ordinary. Wearing the uniforms is where it gets a little disrespectful. But at the same time, hey, they won it. They deserve all the glory that comes with it. It's just I would like to see it go too far.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't get blown out of proportion. But I don't really have a problem with any of it. I mean, it is what it is. And again, it brings a little flair to baseball. So.
It was a good series. It wasn't like the Royals came in there and blew them out. And if they did blow them out, it'd be even worse. Right. Do it the next game. Do it, 2 games into the season like everyone else does. Don't do it the opening game against people who, you beat in the World Series. That's a slap in the face. It's awful. I feel terrible for the Mets because of this. So that I don't agree. I think it is cocky. I think it's terrible. I want to ask you the same thing I asked Collin. What are your standouts for opening week? I mean, there's a lot of games.
I mean, like you said, Big Papi seemed to be coming back to his old form. He's looking very good. I mean, there's a lot to go into. A lot of teams looking good. A couple surprise teams here and there. A couple teams that we saw coming. So I don't know. Nothing that really stood out to me specifically.
Yeah.
But
all right. No, I agree. This is in my opinion, the biggest standout to me was the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays came in and the score might have been much closer than it actually was, but it was when they played the Rays. This is the 5-3 game. Blue Jays had 5, Rays had 3. I don't want people to get confused there, but the Blue Jays looked dominant from the beginning. I forget who pitched for the Rays. I think it was Archer, and he just looked out of place, and the Blue Jays just looked good, and they do look good, and I liked that. I liked, I liked how good they actually did look, and the entire team looked. So those are the team. That is the team who stood out to me early. And, of course, before we go, it's got to be that time. What is if you had to pick it right now, what is your
way too early predictions
for the World Series?
Right now, I mean, I'll just pick the winner. I mean, I'm gonna side with Collin Ferguson, aka Ferg. I'm gonna go with the Cubs. I mean, they've been out of the race for so long and they've been struggling for a while. But last year, I think they got to the last series. Yeah, the last series before the World Series. And I think they're going to, push it over the top this year. They're going to get there and they're going to take it.
All right.
Chicago deserves it. They really do.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I have the exact same World Series as Collin does. I have the Blue Jays and the Cubs. Do I want the Cubs in there, and I like the Blue Jays as well. Obviously, I'm a Dodgers fan, and I would love to see them in the game, but it doesn't seem like they ever know how to play in September and October ever. So, it's hard to pick them. But maybe it'll be like Syracuse, and I won't pick them, and they'll finally do something. But I have to agree. I think the Blue Jays look young. They look talented. The Cubs, I looked good well before last year, but it was very small. It was very small spurts of this, fantastic play. And they have a lot of young guys. I said it way before last season that I thought that they were going to be very good in these upcoming years. And the fact that they got Joe Madden just solidified that they are a dominant team. Right. And I think that they will go. And I agree. I have them winning it all. But don't sleep on the Mets. Don't sleep on the Mets because they look just like the Mets every year. They're going to start off slow and they're going to come back and they're going to do well. And then maybe they're going to look terrible, at the end of the season like they always do. It could happen. But I believe they're going to be the Mets of last year and they're going to do real well. And I wouldn't sleep on them if I was anybody out there. And that's going to do it for us. That's going to be the end of the first ever live broadcast of the Average Joe Sports Show, brought to you today, like always, by AverageJoeSports.com, a blog for your everyday sports fan. Make sure to check them out online and make sure to subscribe to us on SoundCloud and iTunes. And before we go, I want to give some shout outs. I obviously want to thank Tom. Love him. Love having him here. We do this weekly and we love it. It's one of the best part of my week. I also want to thank our producer, Steven Zembloski over there, killing it all night long, fixing problems, because obviously this is our first one. We thought we had everything figured out, but we obviously didn't. And I hope everybody stuck around and watched it and, did what they had to do and loved every second of it, just like we did. We had a ton of fun. Obviously, I got to thank our families, because without them, we wouldn't be here. And I got to thank my uncles, my Uncle John Mackey and, my Uncle Dave for letting us have our new studio. They did this for us, and it's phenomenal. We couldn't thank them enough. We hope you had a good time. Make sure to subscribe to us as always. Visit the site, and that's going to do it for us. Have a good weekend.